thanks again for joining me on this call. I just wanted to talk about some of the successes of things that we've done together. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about some of the projects that we have done?
Yeah, so fortunately, I was referred to you by one of my colleagues at Michelin to hire you for a small project, initially to gather testimonials from our customers and eventually use some of that content later on in some of our paid media strategies. So I hired you for that, and it turned out that you did such a good job. In fact, I hired your team for another project later on in the year. And so that project was more or less around going to one of our largest North American events, capturing some content on site, getting some interaction from our guests, and ultimately trying to get some good content and feedback from our customers to use in subsequent strategies, communication strategies.
So I was also just curious, when we did work together, what was that process like? How did the result turn out? What was the process like from very beginning when we're just talking about strategy, we're talking about planning and all of that, all the way through implementation, which mostly your team does, but just, from start to finish, how does that process kind of feel when you work with our team?
Yeah, so I felt that your team was really organized from the very beginning. First of all, very responsive to reaching out, communication, emails, phone calls. We didn't have to wait days or weeks. It was very responsive communication, but then also consistent in the process. So, typically you handle it with some pre-questionnaires, and then you also set up calls with the vendor or the supplier to confirm or validate what their ultimate expectations are for the project, which I thought was really helpful from my perspective. While we did give you a brief, so to speak, setting up that call, that face-to-face call to really validate what are you trying to get out of this project ultimately, what are you trying to do with the end results, really helped us articulate ultimately our end goal, which I think really shaped the success of the project, the outcome. And then, of course, on site, especially with the second project, we had to pivot a little bit because our expectations were one thing and the reality was another. And so, while our experience was, great at communication, great at process and structure, your team was also very flexible and adaptable to the environment as we faced it. And so just all of those components combined really helped deliver a really good end result. In fact, the first testimonial project that we captured, we used it in our paid media campaign this fall, and our digital team just sent us the first snapshot of results a couple weeks ago. And we had the highest click-through rate of any B2B campaign at Michelin, which shows that not only did this testimonial project work the way that it was captured and the way that we used the content and the video and everything that your team provided was successful. And I think that was a large part attributable to the fact that you kind of somewhat led the process in terms of, forcing us to articulate what our expected outcomes were or should be.
Yeah, and I mean that's the first that I'm hearing of that, and that's just amazing. Like it's so cool to see that when you trust the process and everybody kind of brings what they have to the table, that it works out. So it's really cool not just to be on the video creation side, on the strategy side, well, any of that side, but just seeing even how your team handles implementation and all of the cross T's and dotted I's so that you can have such a good success. So that's super cool. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be some small part of that, for your team to just really get the results that you're looking for when you spend money making marketing.
Yeah. In fact, it was surprisingly successful for us. So we're definitely going to be doing more of that. And you'll be the first that we reach out to if we need to capture more testimonial videos. So thanks to you.
So I know obviously that's like a huge win, but how would you say, is there anything measurable? Is there anything that you would say like, man, this really impacted the business in this way?
Wow, yeah. So prior to this year, 2025, we really did not have a strong end user engagement strategy. This was the first year where we really started to deploy tactics to be a lot more intentional in how we're communicating directly with producers and farmers and end users. So we didn't have a huge budget this year to do that, but we did want to do a few things really, really well in order to prove the value of what we did do so that we could continue to invest more budget in the coming years. So I would say the success from that standpoint is we prove the value of this type of content in reaching our end users. This is what they're looking for, and when done right, we actually get good results. And so by putting this in market, we got really good engagement in our paid media efforts. And then that engagement drove something like 70% new users to our website, which ultimately then leads them to our dealers who then buy tires. So we're pushing them down the funnel in a new way by engaging in new content. And so this is the first, I think, of many more projects that we'll see like this in the coming years.
It's awesome whenever you work on something long enough and you've tried a few things and then you finally get something that just kind of clicks and you're like, this is what we've been grinding for. So like that's such a relief moment, but it's also such a celebratory moment,
It's one thing to say it's just the testimonial video in and of itself that was that led to the success, but I think the way that we captured the authentic voice and the authentic needs that our customers face, I think that's really what resonated. And I don't think that's something that just anybody can do. I think you really have to understand who you're interviewing or who you're speaking to really pull that out and make sure that it comes off authentically. And I think that was what really drove a lot of the engagement and the success of this.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love to hear it. And, here's to more.
Yeah.
But I am just curious, if someone is on the fence and they're like, I don't know if I want to work with somebody, we're doing okay by ourselves, but maybe they're just considering booking a call with us or they're considering working with us. What would you say to someone who's kind of in that position?
I think working with you actually made us better. And I think working with you and the team felt very non-threatening. Like you were one person talking to another person, and oh, by the way, you also happen to do really great work. And so it just felt like a natural fit that it would be silly on us not to work with you. I think that's part of the I guess the initial feedback I would give to somebody after reaching out is it felt like I was just reaching out to a friend who happened to be an expert in videography, and they gave me a lot of great tips on how to do a project really well. So I think very approachable, reasonable in terms of expectations, but also kind of, like I said in the beginning, really helped us formulate exactly what we needed, where kind of as an idea person, less of an executor person, you helped me, get to the point where we needed to hone a little bit on the objective and the outcome. So I would 100% work with you and your team again, and I would say I would recommend you to anybody, even if it's just for a strategy consultation. I think it was really easy to work with you and your team, and made us even better in the long run, just as marketers.
Yeah, I love to hear that. That's the goal, is that any of the relationships, like no matter they are just be a strategy call for free or it ends up turning into some sort of collaborative work where there's money involved and work transacted and some stuff like that. But like, regardless of how any of it goes, I want to make sure that I'm sharing something good with the world and that our team is basically able to refine whatever we touch, so it's just one of those things where I think a generous spirit goes a long way. And I'm just glad to hear that regardless of any other things that had a good effect on you and your team. So yeah, that's super cool. And hopefully someone will be happy and less nervous to book a call after hearing that you've had such good success with us. And that's really it. Is there anything else? This is always my favorite question to ask. Is there anything I'm not asking that you would want to say?
I mean, genuinely, I'm pretty picky with the people that I work with, both in the product that we get, but also the relationship that we develop. And I think everything just seemed to line up perfectly. And I think it's all because of the approach, and really ultimately you're there to do what's right for the business or the partner. And that comes across in how you approach the project, how you approach the work. You're not in it to just get a paycheck. You're in it to really deliver good work. And I think that comes through. So no, even from the very beginning, I told Nick, thank you so much for connecting us with Ashton. He was a great find, and I feel like we won the jackpot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for saying all the nice things, and I appreciate it a ton. And here's to many more projects ahead.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for letting me give my feedback.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's
Yay.
the whole short little nice interview, just in a
I
pocket.
hope you got some good stuff there. I think I stuttered and moved around or whatever. I was all over the place.
You,
But hopefully
you
got
have to know I make videos, so it doesn't. None of that ever matters. I have ways to fix anything that's
True.
too human.
Yeah. That'll be my feedback. If you capture other recommendations from other people, start the conversation with, "Hey, by the way, don't stress. I can fix anything that might help their guard down."
Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning. I just need random sound bites. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just whatever comes out works.
Well, good. Hopefully you got some good
So.
stuff. Hopefully that'll help.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just so interesting trying to chase people down because some people are like, yeah, it was really great, but we're just not interested. I'm like, well, I'm not asking for work again. I'm just asking for feedback. I've had so many people just be like, half read the email or something and just be like, no, we're not interested right now. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
it's fine, but I'm not sure that you read your email because I'm not asking much.
Yeah. No.
That or they hated me and they're like, bro, we're never trusting you again.
Who?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny because probably two of the people who responded that way, they work in health food ingredient companies. So they make a certain type of omega oil or something from plant derivatives, just some very obscure health things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think, I don't know, maybe it's just the health people that are nervous right now.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just not happy people.
Yeah. How's it been since Nick moved to his other position?
I hear that I think that they've offered the role to someone else, but the role's been vacant for a little while. So.
Oh, okay.
Is
Is that adding stress or has it just been?
Not too much, at least from the brand side, because most of our projects have been completed. And honestly, I think he was if you look at his job, I think 70 or 80% was on internal stuff anyway, maybe for his team or Luigi, not for external projects. Mm-hmm. So we don't see the hit so much on our side. So it's probably good that they're looking for someone else to backfill, maybe somebody who's not. He loved to do the internal stuff, photography. So his role right now is a really good fit for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything else going good with the team and budget planning and all the fun things at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm ready for vacay for the holidays. Speaking of which, though, if we're literally, me and Dave are putting our final budgets in place, I think, this week. Of course, there'll be several iterations after we determine what our budget's going to be. But if we wanted to earmark some projects with you or your company, any new ways to approach that? How do you want us to go about that?
I mean, whatever makes sense for you guys is fine. I feel like at this point, you know how the process generally works, where I just want to make sure that we're clear about what the goals are before we go into a project, so that when we do need to go, oh, this is a different event than we anticipated, it's we can still know that if we have to take a side road, we're getting to the right destination. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, just whatever makes sense for you guys. If you're Yeah, I think we have 4 projects, 10 projects, whatever, however many projects they are, and they'll be spaced out sort of like this, or, if it was something like that, just, you know, make it a conversation more than anything is kind of how I find it works best. Because otherwise it's just like, I don't know. It just feels a little cold to sometimes be like, hey, here's what we think we're doing. Just let us know. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to guess too much.
Yeah.
I'd rather know, like, what's the goals? What are we trying to accomplish? What's it going to take to do that? Without getting all of the details lined up, but just enough of them to be like,
Yeah.
yeah, here's the budget range for something like that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's if we're still booking out things, I think for the most part for the next year, especially anything with like people that I've worked with, like you guys, I'll still do all of the work. It's not gonna have to be like other people bringing in for stuff. It's more like when I bring in like a retainer project for like a roofing company or something, then I'll just like basically have someone that I assign to do all the fulfillment for that.
Okay.
So, but like with you guys, it'll just be me still, unless you're like, send your other people instead.
No, I think we vote for Ashton.
So, but yeah, does that answer the question? I feel like I don't
Yes.
know if that was a good answer or
Yes, it
not.
does. I think we may want to try to coordinate a couple of testimonials. I've had several of the sales team reach out and say, "Hey, I've got a farmer. Hey, I've got a farmer." So,
Yeah.
given how well it worked, I could see us putting maybe 2 on the calendar next year. And I know we're going to be at Farm Progress in August, so there may be a desire to do something there. Those are kind of like the top level 3 things that I can
Yeah.
think of right now, but we'll work through those. And if we determine that we will do that, then I'll reach out to you. We can set up some time and go over that.
Yeah. I would say the only thing like with the testimonies, that's like the scheduling of that can be really flexible, but with like an event, if you have dates for something like that and you want to decide what you want to do with that sooner is always better to make
Okay.
sure that I'm not like doing something else.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of first come, first serve when it comes to the calendar most of the time. So,
Sure. Okay. All
but
right. I'll
yeah.
keep that in mind. I think Dave and I are meeting tomorrow, actually. So once we lock it in, and if Farm Progress is one of those, then we'll get it set up time with you right away and go over that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okie dokie.
Perfect.
All
Okay.
right. Well, let me
Thanks
know
again, Daphne.
if you do anything else. Of course.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it though, for sure.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
All right. See ya.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.